instructions on this call at 2 o'clock. And if not, I would die a painful, miserable death, lonely death. And so that's what Alex told me. She's not around today. So, so I'm going to let you do any kind of introductions and kind of give me a little context. And then when we're ready to rock and roll, we'll jump in. How's that?
That sounds wonderful. First of all, thank you so much for being on this call. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. It also invited the New Jersey Market Council onto this call because we won this call through the New Jersey Super Saturday by having the largest showing team there. I'm also on the Market Council with those lovely people. It's a great council. We can't wait to have you stop by and visit us at a Super Saturday.
I just need an invite.
Well, consider this your formal invitation.
Okay, I have a daughter in Manhattan, so she's not too far away.
All right, so see you. Great weekend. Yeah. So you're speaking with Team Fierce Ambition. Not only did we show up at New Jersey, but we showed up all across the map at Super Saturdays. I was super proud of my team, as I always am. They always show up. So we really just want to hear you talk. Your quote, "Jump and grow your wings on the way down." I know that's a quote, but I remember you saying at New Leadership, and it stuck with me. And I feel like I repeat it all the time on calls, and it's just something that's stuck with our team. So I know that's a theme we'd love to hear you speak more about.
Well, okay, thank you so much. And it's always it really is a treat for me to jump on calls like this. And, you know, I am so grateful for like Zoom, because lots of times you jump on these conference calls, you know, and you're just speaking into a black hole. You know, someone's on the other end, but you don't really, you know, you can't connect. And for me, just looking at my screen here, you know, gives me this opportunity to connect and realize that I'll be very honest, it's always a little humbling for me. And it's humbling because I realize that there are people, you know, literally across the country, and I'm looking at you, and you've got kids there, you know, you've got people in the background, you're carving time out, you're doing stuff, and it's real. It's like life as it is. It's very, very real. And the fact that you've made a decision to do some things with Beachbody, and not that it's with Beachbody so much to me, which is key, and I'm with Beachbody, so I guess that is key. But the fact that you've made some decisions in your life to change and to create and help other people create real results in their life, and that is a meaningful thing. And I know that you're on this call because you made some effort to be somewhere when you could have chosen to be elsewhere, you know, on that Super Saturday. So, you know, my intent this morning, or this afternoon rather, is maybe just to kind of share a few thoughts that kind of gather or focus maybe a little bit more around what time of year that we're in, and maybe some things that you might be able to do, and kind of maybe just kind of give you that little bit of an extra push. And then they asked if I'd save a few minutes at the very end, and Dana, you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but if there's some Q&A, I'm happy to spend a couple minutes on Q&A. So is any truth to that?
I'm sure the people on our team would love to ask you a few questions.
Okay, well, you know, that'd be fantastic. So I've kind of put some notes down here, and there's some pieces I'm going to refer to and read. But you know, Dana, as you picked up, you know, there's I do tend to be kind of a quote guy, and I tend to be a quote guy in a lot of respects because other people say it a lot better than I can ever say it. But one of my favorite quotes is sometimes you just have to jump and build your wings on the way down. And I think that there's such power in that concept because as I've seen this, as I've seen the successful coaches and seen people that are success, you know, you will never be perfectly prepared. You will never know all of the answers. The situation will never be right. The stars will never be in alignment. And so there's something magically powerful about when you take that jump, because you do have to build your wings, and you will learn as you go. You're not before you go, but as you go. And that is the best kind of learning. And if it's when you think about it, it is, I'm really big on kind of understanding what the principles that underlie things are and why they work the way they work, and then apply it to practices, the things that we do. Because when you understand that, then you can, I think it helps you engage in the right practices. But when you take that principle and you apply it to almost anything in life, and someone will point out an exception for me, I'm sure, but you know, you think about it. I remember trying to teach, you know, one of my daughters, we live near the mountains here, snow skiing. And one of the things that always happens, they make the brave ride up the lift. You get them on the chair, you get them off the chair, and then you get on top of that hill, and it looks like you're going to fall off the face of the earth, even though when it's, really not very, very steep. But the first thing that you've always got to get them doing is moving, because if you not moving, you're not turning. And it's amazing how that principle works. When you're going, when you're moving, then you begin to turn, and that's where the excitement, the exhilaration is. The learning comes. That's where you really learn. Where you balance and can do things. It's the same if you've ever been on a wave runner or whatever. If you're sitting on a wave runner in the water and you're trying to steer that thing, and you've taken your hand off the accelerator, it just glides and kind of stops, and you can't steer it. You've got to be going. So. Anyway, wasn't really going to go down that road that much, but my encouragement to you, even as we look at this time of year, it's key that you're jumping. And I want to kind of start with this a little bit of this idea of, it's a quote from Tony Robbins that I really, really like. Okay, it says this: "I believe life is constantly testing us for our level of commitment. And our life's greatest rewards are reserved for those who demonstrate a never-ending commitment until they achieve. This level of commitment can move mountains, but it must be constant and consistent. As simplistic as this may sound," get this, as simplistic as this may sound, it, meaning commitment and consistency, is the common denominator separating those who live their lives, who live their dreams, and those who live in regret. And I thought, you know what, sometimes we try, if you want to simplify things, down to the common denominator. I think Anthony Robbins just did this. One more follow-up quote on this that I think it comes from an old philosopher named Goethe, which I think is kind of timeless in nature. He says this: "Until one is committed, there's hesitancy. The chance to draw back, there's always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth: the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans." Here it is: "The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise occur. Boldness has genius, it has power, and it has magic in it. Begin now." And I don't know what you've seen in your life. I don't know exactly why it works, but there is something that happens at the minute you make a decision, the minute that you commit, and the minute that you start moving and going, that windows open up, opportunities open up, the hurdles seem smaller, you miraculously, things start to happen. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but by making a decision and by committing and moving, it always seems like 70% of the stuff disappears in life. The challenges disappear in life. It's another favorite quote: "It's the start that stops most people." Okay. It's the start that stops most people. It's that inertia that's so important. So I'm going to just make a couple of challenges here to you, and you can kind of pluck out what you will, okay? And then at the end you can ask me some questions if you want to drill a little bit deeper. But so here we are. It's the 11th of November. There are basically 6 weeks left in the year. And my guess, as you started Beachbody, don't know how long you've been with Beachbody, or if it was the beginning of the year, whenever it was, you started and you had some specific identifiable goals in mind. And I don't know where you are in relation to those. And I hope that you're right on pace or above pace. But putting that aside, giving yourself to put all of that aside, what I would challenge you to do is to look at where you are right now and what you can accomplish between November 11th, not November 12th, okay? Not November 12th, okay? November 11th, today, with the balance of this day and the end of the year. And the difference that you can make in your life and the difference that you can make in other people's lives that you care about and other people that you don't even know about. okay, that will come into your life that you can touch. So here's some ways to do that. I'm going to challenge you. The first is this, is that as you look at what you can do, my first challenge to you is to be one, gutsy in how you start these next 6 weeks. And I'm kind of putting this new finish line in, is to be bold, that you create some bold strokes, that you're audacious, okay, in what you do. Because when you engage in audacious action, that energizes you. There's a great, a philosopher who said this, William James, he said this, 3 rules to follow if you want to change your life. 1, start immediately. 2, do it flamboyantly. 3, no exceptions. Okay. And these recommendations produce this sense of urgency, and it's almost an air of drama, if you will, that gives you the commitment for fast growth. And it's, when you're bold about something, I mean, you could sit back and you can go, you know what, I'm gonna do this, by the end of the year. And you could absolutely bore yourself to death. With the goal that you set, it would be absolutely achievable, and it would mean nothing to you. It wouldn't inspire you, nor would it inspire anybody else around you. As you're trying to inspire team members around you, there's not an ounce of energy that comes out of you. So my first challenge to you is to be bold and gutsy in what you're willing to achieve. And that may mean, I'm going to achieve Success Club both months. I'm going to achieve this rank by the end of the year. I am going to hold a challenge group. We've got Masters Hammer and Chisel coming. I'm going to sell or position a challenge group that's going to do this. I'm going to do the 21-day fix. I don't know what it is, but you need to look at where you are right now. And then you need to just sit back and you need to say, okay, what can I do? Then how can I increase it? It's a little bit like the Max 30 Shaun T, where and I love it, where the one woman says, when I think I can only do 1 more, I do 3. I love that. I watch that, and every time I hear that, it just makes me go, yeah, and that's kind of the motto that you've got to take on this, okay, is to be bold. So start strong. Point 2 is that you need to leverage, okay, what I'm going to call your big winner behaviors, okay? And maybe everyone on this phone call is familiar with the Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle, that basically says that 80% of your performance gains will come from 20% of your growth efforts. Okay. And what that really means is that there are some critical behaviors that you can engage in that will create the greatest results in your business at this time of year. So maybe back up a step. What you've just done is you've said, okay, you know what? I'm going to be gutsy. I've got this goal. I'm going to go after this thing, and I'm going to go after it with gusto and with determination and with a no matter what, type of attitude. Okay, great to have a goal, great to be gutsy, great to have the attitude, but then you've got to identify the behaviors that will help you hit that. Okay, too many coaches that I run into are misaligned in their thinking, okay, or in their understanding what the business says. They'll have a goal up here, but their activity level is down here. Anytime you're in misalignment like that, you're not going to achieve your goals. So one of 2 things has to happen. Okay, you have to have that moment of truth in your life, in your business, where you say, okay, here's my goals. My activity level is here. I'm not willing to raise my activity level to here. If that's the case, okay, then you need to lower your goal to your activity level and be happy and content with that and realistic about that, so that there's not this gap of disappointment and discouragement that comes. Or you need to identify what those right behaviors are, and you need to raise the level of the activity level and the right levels so that they're aligned with the goals. Because any time that you're misaligned, okay, there's a gap, you will miss. Does that make sense? I mean, I think it makes sense. It's the piece of identifying those behaviors. So what you need to do is to identify the killer big behaviors, not the killer big behaviors, but those. I'm getting all the beeps here. All of the activities that are going to give you the greatest results, because growth comes from disproportionate investment, okay, in your business, okay? And it's going to come from focusing on certain things. Now, I'm going to point out right away, we have 3 critical behaviors, okay? Obviously, invite. I would say even out of the 3 critical behaviors, the 3 vital behaviors, of an invite, be product works, engaging in personal development. I would suggest that inviting is the most critical of them all. That is where you will learn the most. You could argue personal development is kind of that fuel, but it's in the doing and in the engaging where you're going to get those greatest results. So if you've got some goals that you're setting, then what you need to do is look what it's going to take to reverse engineer those, and then look at your business and say, okay, that means I'm going to have to invite X number of people in order to get X number of people into my challenge group. They're going to do this, and reduce it down to a business. Here's the other reason why it's so key that you identify what those critical behaviors, those vital, most important behaviors are in your business is let's be honest, right now where we are this time of year, okay, it's hard, okay? It's that time of year, you're the middle of November, you've got Thanksgiving coming, you've got the holidays, Christmas holidays coming, you've got school plays, you've got church stuff, you've got community stuff, you got to go shopping for the holidays, there's more distraction and more things, and more people that are sticking straws into you and sucking out energy. Okay, and Jeff Hill's telling you need to go do this, Dana's telling you need to do this, you need to do this, and that's what happens. The more that you focus and narrow your behavior, the more energy that you will have at this time of year. If ever there was a time of year when you need to get narrow in your focus and get channeled and compressed in the activities that you're engaging, it's now. This is the time of year to simplify, okay, and to push things off of your plate, because if you don't, your energy will get diluted, your activities will get diluted, and it won't matter. And it's so easy for all of us at any time of year that we get involved in behaviors and activities, but at the end of the day, none of that matters, okay? It's outcome, it's results that matter in your business, okay? And so it's a great time to sit back and say, where do I get the greatest results out of my business? Identifiable results. And then you've also got to be willing to do this. And this is not this is not soft talk on this. If you want to go after an audacious goal and something big and to finish strong in your business that will set up the year, you've got to be willing to go through a season of imbalance, okay? Most of us want balance in our lives. Most of us want things to be perfect. And in my life, I think people would probably look at me in some ways and go, oh, you live this great life because you do this and family and all these kinds of things. But in order to get to even those seasons of balance, you have to go through seasons of imbalance in your life where you're willing to trade off certain behaviors and certain activities in order to do that. So that brings up point number 3. Okay, so point number 2 was Pareto principle, leverage the big winner behaviors. And I'd suggest that is inviting. In fact, here's what I'd also suggest is, even as you engage in your personal development, some of your personal development may be on how you get better in inviting, learning the science and the skill set of that. Does that make sense? Sometimes I think we look at personal development and we go, it's I don't want to say feel good things, but it's stuff that kind of fills us up. Energy kind of gives us that emotional fuel to go, and I think that's important because we all need that. But it's also good from an intellectual standpoint, from a skill set. If this is really going to be a business for you and you want to get business type results out of this, then you have to understand the business of it. And part of the personal development is to develop your personal skill sets in that regard. So maybe a great time to pick up a book on I'm just looking over here at my, my library, like I've got a book that I love that's called, Let's Get Real, or Let's Not Talk. And it's a book about how to ask effective questions. Okay. And really it's helping people get it helps people lead them to conclusions. So, find out what the solution is, find out what the issues are. And it's kind of a fun thing because it's applicable not only in business, but in real life. Anyway, my point was engage in those behaviors, personal development. Maybe you want to look at something that will help you perfect that skill. Okay. The next point is it pivots off what I just shared, and it's to be sharply pointed over these next 6 weeks versus well-rounded. Okay, because being well-rounded is going to get you broad, spread out results. Okay, you have to give more to fewer efforts, and if you're going to grow, it's like I said a little bit earlier. Growth is kind of greedy. It's going to require quite a bit from you. And the reality is if you were to sit back also, and this is a time management piece, is to look at what's pulling at you or from you, you're going to see that there's a lot that's eating up your time and your energy, and some of that stuff deserves totally to starve. Okay? It really deserves to starve, and you should push that stuff. It will eat at your table, but you got to push that thing away, and that stuff easily creeps into your life. But you've got to invite it out of your life. It's these diddly little routines and things that happen, that don't matter. And the reality is that in order to achieve your goals and your dreams, is that you have to be willing to trade off or give up certain things. And the challenge of it is that it's not that it's not the obvious stuff that you have to give up that's going to hurt you. It's giving up some of the good things that you like to do that's going to require the discipline in your life to really go to that next level. And so you may want to pick the easy things that are to get rid of those. Okay. Then the tough part is to sit down, and you're now having the decision and the discussion with yourself. Okay, it's a good, better, best type of discussion. Okay, what are some of these things that I can get rid of that will make me better or make me the best? It's not just a good discussion, it's a better and a best discussion. Does that make sense? And sometimes those are hard, to pull away from. But that's where I think as a group you can rely on each other. So this is the time that you do this. You think few, you concentrate on the essentials, you figure out what to ignore because you've got too many choices that are available. Okay, you need to downsize your daily routine and your activities to the core stuff. And then you just need to be thinking this. 3 C's. Think contained, contained, compressed, and channeled, so that you can give yourself more fully on a more narrow front. Okay? And power accumulates quickly when there are fewer ways for it to escape. And the value of this is that even though it sounds like, and I guess I'm focusing on how do you get the most out of your business. If you do that, the discipline that you develop will free you up in other areas of your life as well. So as you look at relationships, as you look at your marriage or your time with your partner, whatever that may be, the ability to develop that discipline will free you up in other areas of your life. The cool thing about it is that it also creates this peace in your life because you've exercised discipline there. And when you have peace in your life, you have power in your life. It's interesting. You've probably run into people that have been disciplined and that you rub shoulders with, where you go, man, that guy just said no to me. It's the idea that you can only say no when you have a deeper yes burning within. And when you bump up, rub shoulders with people like that, you go, I want to be like that person. I want to be with that person because they have this discipline. So as you do that, the cool thing is that you have this peace, this power, but this ability to influence the people around you, to influence your teams. And they see that you're focusing on the things that matter most. Now, 2 more quick points, and then we'll open up for questions. Here's the thing that you need to expect, okay? And I want you to write this down. Expect resistance, okay? Okay, expect resistance, and then I commit to stretch out when resistance hits, okay? Because here's what happens. Anytime you start interfering with your familiar routines in life, you disturb that comfortable pattern in the way you've lived your life. And your mind is going to try and reject that. When you're trying to disturb that what's comfortable to you. And these are the real moments of truth. This is really where the discipline has to kick in. So the biggest challenge you're going to have is overcoming your own negative reactions, your own resistance to these kind of changes, because human nature is to say, I want to hang on to this, and I'm going to fight hard to keep me the way I am. I'm going to fight hard to keep my patterns and my comfort level the way it is. We just do that. So you need to know that existence will come and how it operates. And whenever you try and change, resistance will push hard against you. But the way to push against resistance is to push back harder. And that's what you've got to do. And it's no different than your workout program. It's like when I only want to do one, I do three. Okay, in my life, when it feels uncomfortable or people around me are pushing back on me, I've got to work harder, okay, to get pushed through this comfort level of comfort, because resistance grows stronger when it's like a live thing, okay, almost. Resistance grows stronger when any evidence of weakening resolve emerges. It just seems to do that, but it also yields when there's greater effort put forward. So the piece you need to know again is expect resistance to this and then push like crazy. Then I'm just going to end with this kind of thought, and then a couple other little pieces maybe, but it goes back to the jumping on the way. You got to be willing to jump and build your wings on the way down. That if you're going to start boldly, okay, if you're going to focus on those activities and behaviors that are going to give you the greatest rewards, if you know that resistance is going to come, okay, the next thing you have to do is you have to act. You have to put yourself in the position to grow. You've got to put yourself in the position that all of these things are going to happen, and that you're willing to learn as you go, not before you grow. And that's when your learning gets started. That's when the results start to come. And it's an interesting thing. As I've looked at coaches, sometimes we tend to be so impatient with who we are as coaches and our earnings and everything else. There's a quote. I'm going to pull this up really fast. Just a minute. Let me grab this. I wasn't going to share this, but I'm going to now. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Just a minute. Here it is. Here it is. Maybe you've heard some form of this before. It's crazy that some people feel that 2 to 5 years in business is a long time to create success or to become wealthy, but don't feel that 40 years at a job is a long time to stay broke. Okay, let me read that one more time. It's crazy that some people feel that 2 to 5 years in a business is a long time to get wealthy or to create success, but don't feel that 40 years at a job is a long time to stay broke. And this business does crazy things because we compare ourselves to those people that have been just wildly, successful, and think, why not me? What you've got to be willing to do is put aside that disease, what I'm going to call the disease of comparison. Yes, best practice. You should be best practicing all day long, but put aside that disease of comparison, because it can freeze you. And it can paralyze you into moving and into acting, because you keep second guessing what and how you're doing it. You've got to keep moving. So my big last challenge on this would be this idea of, you've got to go. Growth is an action-based strategy. As I look at the most successful coaches in this business, we talk about consistency and constancy. It's what Goda said earlier. Anthony Robbins said earlier. But here's what it looks like. Okay, consistency isn't just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Okay, That's the definition of what? That's the definition of insanity. Okay. As I've looked at successful coaches, I remember I was down in the Bahamas and I was watching these Elite 10 coaches, and it was on a panel discussion, and they were throwing out the word consistency. And I thought, no, it's more than that. There's something different, a deeper level than just that. And maybe you've heard me share this before, but it was taken from this book called You Can Change Anything. I'm looking over here at it. You Can Change Anything. And as it looked at successful people, they determined what they do is they turn bad days into good data. Okay, meaning this is that they will take an experience that they've created by acting, and it doesn't work out, okay, like they wanted it to. And so what they don't do is get discouraged and disillusioned and depressed and ready to stop and go, you know what, this program doesn't work, this doesn't work, I don't work, I wasn't cut out for this. Instead of those things, they get curious about what they're doing, okay? And then they do what I call, they rinse and they repeat. So it's a challenge group, okay? It's a program. It's their inviting, it's their posting, whatever they're doing, and they're not getting the results from it, they get curious. And then they go, let me try it again and learn, and rinse it and repeat it and make it a little bit better and make it a little bit better and make it a little bit better. And that's what this most successful coaches have done. And it takes, like I showed you up here, it will take 2 years. It can take 3 years in order to be successful, but what business doesn't take that kind of investment to create some real success? You can kid yourself and just say, I'm going to learn the tricks of the trade. But you know what? That's what a hobbyist would do. If you're serious about this, you're going to say, I'm going to learn the trade, the skills of the trade. And that will take longer. And you know what? You got to also give yourself permission to understand that each one of you are on a different journey. Your starting point's different. We all come in different shapes, sizes, skill sets, abilities, background, stuff that's happened to us in life and stuff that's currently happening in life. We've all got different things that we're dealing with, and that's what makes life rich. Okay. But know that your starting point is your starting point, but it's the consistency and the learning that will be most important. But you have to jump. You have to act, and you have to go. As I do my national wake-up calls on Monday mornings, and I always get this little fact sheet of what the coaches are, and these are some of the more successful coaches, obviously, and not everyone is the same. But one of the things I pretty consistently see is something like this. They join the business, and in their first year, it's not unusual for their check to be in that month to be $147 average, $197, something like that over a year's time. Okay, not too impressive. Okay, year 2, they stay in there. Interestingly, there seems to be kind of this tripling thing that happens, and then by the end of year 2, it'll be like, man, it's $500 or $600 in a month. So all of a sudden you go, yeah, you could make a car payment, you can do this, you can do this, you can do that. And it's pretty significant. Year 3, it seems like there's this other tripling kind of quadrupling type of a deal. And then in that 4th year, and again, I'm being kind of broad with this, but there's this pattern that I see that in years 3, 4, and 5, there's this thing that tends to, that just all of a sudden exponentially grows based on their effort. But it's taken most of them that long to develop that kind of successful business. But they've been consistent in hanging in there. So, as I open this up for questions, my challenge to you would be is to look at where your goals are. Look what you really want to accomplish. Sometimes even as you go, man, I'm not into the inviting, I'm not into, I feel like I'm salesy. Here's, maybe I'd have you change your thinking on that a little bit, because most of us won't engage in any activity for a long period of time that's inconsistent with what our values are. And just trying to sell somebody something. for the sake of selling somebody something, to get a Success Club point, or, to get that initial thing. People will do that for a short period of time, but that will be inconsistent with your values. And you won't stay in it very long if that's what your motivation is. But if your value set, if who you are is aligned with, I really want to help people, and I want to help people get real results in their life, okay? If that's your motivation and that's why you're sharing, okay, then you'll be willing to share, and you'll be willing to do those things that will create success on a long-term basis. So anyway, I've kind of rambled here a little bit at the, maybe all the way through it, but particularly at the end. But this is a time of year when don't underestimate it. Don't underestimate it, but get simple, downsize, compress, channel. The activities. Focus on those activities are the most important. Simplify. Do that, and you will increase exponentially your probability. I don't say possibility, okay? It will increase the probability of much greater success, okay? One of the biggest things that we fight at the company all the time, because we are a complex company, is to try and keep things simple. And the more we get crazy with things, the harder it is. And I think the less results. And I think that applies to you guys as well. Keep it simple, keep it focused, stay to your goals, and some great things can happen. So anyway, I'll end with that and then open it up for any questions that you might have. So Dana, I don't know if you're still there or not.
Yeah, I am.
Trying to find you on my screen.
Well, thanks for rambling, because I think at the end, some of my favorite points came in your last few minutes. So
good.
I you rambling on there. Anyone who wants to ask Jeff a call, now is the time. Just unmute yourself and go right ahead.
Anyone?
No crickets. Come on.
I do. I have a question.
Awesome.
Heather. I was hoping you'd ask me something, Heather.
So Jeff, I have a question about downsizing. What are some examples of things that you would possibly cut out to make room for other things?
Well, it's an individual thing, but I mean, I think we see lots of coaches, so you have to kind of look at yourself and see, where do I spend my time? I think a great way to figure it out is if you were to keep a journal of where you spend your time. So for example, again, Facebook is the great time suck, that's a great one. It may be, here's maybe a very leveraged one where you look and you say, okay, I'm going to post on Facebook, and you wait for that day to start figuring out what you're going to post. Okay. And instead of being methodical and thoughtful, that you've got a plan for posting. And so an effective way may be to say, what I'm going to do, instead of each day I'm sitting down and going, okay, I got to throw something at my team. I got to throw something out there that's going to be attractive and compelling and authentically me, and in the mall, and so and then you're going, okay, what the heck is that going to be, type thing, as opposed to maybe beginning at the first of the week and saying, okay, here's my 5-day plan. Here's my 7-day plan of posts. And the posts line up that, with the Gary Vaynerchuk theory of, jab, I don't know if you've read the book or heard of the book, it's this idea of jab, 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 right hook, which is, where you've methodically laid out what your posts are so that you're getting the greatest results. So a form of downsizing would be to say, what, I'm not going to waste my time every day putting my post. I'm going to have this laid out. That way, in the day, I can respond, I can follow up, I can do other things. I think from a personal life standpoint, there's so many little simple things. It may be the fitness program that you're engaging in. Are you effective in the way you're conducting that? Are you just kind of doing the a la carte program where you're doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that? Can you save time? Can you save time there? Do you have business hours? Have you set business hours where you say, what? I'm doing my post from this time to this time. I'm doing my follow-up from this time to this time. Melanie Mitro, I think, is a magician. The woman is extremely talented. She has I think, an uncanny gift for organization. But what she does well is she establishes her business hours, and she honors those business hours. Okay. And by having the discipline to do that, she maximizes the time that she's given those. And then that also allows her to leverage the time, outside of those. So to me, it's some small things like that. But Heather, where I would start is you've also got to find, in order to be successful with something like this, you've got to find some quick wins. Okay. You've got to be willing to, you can't say there's 100 of these things. You've got to identify 2 or 3 of those and say, okay, this is where I'm going to start. And then just zealously work on those 3 or 2 or even 1. Okay. Maybe it's just 1, but whatever you do, create a win for yourself so that gives you that sense of, I can do this, I can be successful at this. And this gives me the umph to expand. Don't bite off too much on it. But anyway, does that help a little bit? I'm not giving you too many specifics, but maybe an idea.
No, that's great. Thank you so much.
The first one was brilliant, but then I went downhill after that. Other questions?
I've got a question.
Who's talking to me?
It's Katie.
Okay, Katie.
Oh my God, brain lost it. Somebody else go, because I lost it.
Okay, you'll think of it. Okay. Anybody else?
I'll save you, Katie. Hi, it's Danielle, Jeff.
Hey, Danielle.
Hi, what was the name of that book that you mentioned before?
The Change Anything, or which one?
The Let's Get Real.
Yeah, so let me give a little bit of a disclaimer to it. So this is the book, and I'll tell you, okay, it's called Let's Get Real or Let's Not Play. Okay, and it's I used to work at a company called Covey Leadership Center, and this is the author's name his last name is Khalsa. It's Khalsa. Okay, and it's actually quite a simple book, but here's why I like the book, and you're going to see that most of like a book like this, it tends to be more corporate focused. Okay, so you have to wade and you have to wade through a little bit of it. But the thing that I like about it a lot is that the whole premise of the book is, I think it lines up very well with what our values and principles are. That you're not trying to sell somebody something, you're trying to create a solution, find a solution that meets people's needs. And it helps you learn how to ask questions that kind of delayer the onion a little bit in a very natural way. And I think it's very beneficial, not just inside our business, but in life, in general. So I think it's just very principle based and natural, not gimmicky. There's a system to it, but it's not gimmicky. It's very authentic. So I tell a lot of people, I think this is and there's some pieces that you can just you don't have to go after in the book that go to like more complex sales, but the fundamental principles are are pretty good.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the book. Let's Get Real or Let's Not Play. Katie, did you come to your senses?
I did.
Hey, I'm so glad.
Yeah, right. You were talking about, I didn't write it down exactly what you said, but you were talking about, when resistance hits, that's when you have to, I don't remember your exact wording.
Go ahead.
Were you talking more just we need to be persistent in kind of moving forward continuously, even though we're meeting resistance? Or were you specifically talking about continuing to talk to the individuals who are resisting? Does that make sense?
No, this is more of an individual deal. This is more of an individual piece of. I think if where I would tell you on the one front is like this: let's get real or let's not play. From a skill set standpoint, I mean, that one of the, for example, one of the premises in this book is in asking effective questions is to help you get to yes or to no or to resolve problems as quickly as possible. Because if you've got someone that's ultimately a no, it introduces this idea of what happens when we come to a yellow light. Most of us, when we come to a yellow light, some of you are going to lie and say, oh, I dutifully, legally, lawfully slow down. Some of us do. Most of us speed up, okay, because we want to beat the ELI, we push through it. Okay, if you're honest with yourself, you'll kind of go, yeah, I do. The analogy here is that when you're talking to someone and you get a yellow light, which may be a question or a concern or an objection to, Shakeology or the price or the fitness program, or I don't have time or something like that. The whole premise is you should slow down and you should get resolution, and teaches you how to ask effective questions that can help you. Okay. And ultimately, if the answer is no, then I'm going to move on. But you've done it in such a way that this person still remains a potential loyal customer, someone that would refer to you, but you know when to say, see ya, and stop being a stalker. Okay. Kind of a deal. As it relates back to the question, and that's kind of that skill set that helps you develop. The resistance is the one I think more of on an individual level. As you set these goals in your life, you have to expect, as you move out of your comfort zone, you have to expect that resistance is going to come. And it's really important that when you know that beforehand, if you're smart, what you'll do, okay? If you're smart, what you'll do is you'll kind of identify beforehand, when are those crucial moments that resistance would hit? Okay. Or when, in looking back, do I see that these moments that resistance sets in and I'm the weakest? Okay. And then in those moments, what you would do, excuse me, before they hit, let me just get a drink. Before they hit, is that you would have identified critical behavior, some kind of a critical behavior, not just the vital behavior, but behaviors that can help you push through the resistance. So, when I go to work out in the morning and I'm all by myself, and I'm going, okay, this is the moment when I give in, okay? Or I go to the fridge, or when I know they're probably going to say no, or my family's going to be da-da-da-da-da-da. What behavior do you identify that's going to help you push through that resistance emotionally, okay? And or from a skill set standpoint. And you know what? It can be goofy stuff. It may be, I'm going to sing a song, I got a poem, I'm going to call my success partner, my accountability partner, or I'm going to stop and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to go, I knew this moment was going to happen because I've identified it beforehand. And now when resistance hits, I'm just going to push through this. And you've developed a system by which you'll push through that harder than the resistance, because everything has restraining forces. If the resistance is pushing harder than your resistance to the resistance, you're going to give in. So anyway, maybe a little too philosophical, but I'm speaking more to you in those moments of resistance to expect it, because if you don't expect it, you'll get knocked on your butt and you won't be prepared and you won't know how to deal with it. And you'll be disappointed and discouraged. And, the probability is it just makes it so much more hard.
Thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions?
Hi, Jeff. This is Maureen. I have a comment and kind of a question.
Oh, I love those kind of question comments.
So first, I wanted to say perfect timing for you to do this, and really beneficial information that you passed along. It really is a time that for some people becomes stressful just overall by the holidays themselves. And I feel like that, and then in turn, we become stressed about the business aspect of things. So I really do appreciate you sharing this. And I feel like for me personally, it was exactly what I needed to hear for right where I'm at. So I appreciate it. Thank you. And the question that I have is, in the very beginning, you were talking about, very, very beginning, you were talking about being run and be bold and be audacious. And you listed 3 things. One of them was start immediately. Number 2 was do it flamboyantly. And number 3 was, and I don't have that.
My third point was, who's got it? I've got it written down here. Just a minute. I should know it all. Yeah, it may have been no exceptions. Just a minute.
No exceptions?
It's no exceptions. It's start immediately, do it flamboyantly, and no exceptions. So it's that attitude. It's just a no matter what, kind of attitude.
It kind of goes along with that never give up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is that. But again, the idea of being a little flamboyant, on this and being, being bold is the idea that you're honestly, the psyche of it is you're kind of painting yourself in a corner. Okay. It's like you're burning the ships. You know, when you go public on this and you say to the world, I am going to do this by this date. It takes a lot of courage to do that. Okay. But in essence, what you've done is you've burned the ships behind you, and it kind of says, you know what, I'm all in. I'm betting on me now. I'm telling the world that I'm betting on my ability to do this. You know, and there was like a quote I didn't share. It was a Harvard Business Review article I read that says the people who change best and fastest are the ones who have no choice. Okay, and I have really seen that, and in essence, you know, hopefully you're not in a situation where in life you may absolutely.
Go ahead, Rob. You can bring the book right with you. Sit with it. Go ahead.
You know, where you have no choice, but more importantly is that you've kind of self-imposed that choice.
That's fine. Whatever you got to do. He has braces. I don't know if that you can do. Okay. Okay.
Someone has braces. We're good.
Trisha, that's Trisha. Trisha, mute yourself.
Yeah, you're. Anyway, so does that make sense? A little bit of this is being flamboyant is that and those that change fastest change.
I lost audio. Is it just me?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
That's better.
All right. So I'm just saying, any other questions from anyone that want to ask, and we'll.
Thank you so much.
Any deep, meaningful, rich thoughts that would like make us walk on fire, and you know, Megan,
Yes.
You're right in the middle of my screen. Who just said something? So.
Danielle just said yes. I have something very meaningful. Can you come on January 8th or 9th to New Jersey? That's very meaningful.
I would love to. I'm trying to think where I'm committed to go. I think I'm committed to go to Florida, which is warmer.
It is warmer.
Than
All right.
That's not.
We'll give you that.
That's not the motivation, but I've got. That's I think where they've got me to go to. So. Anyway, I know we're running out of time here. So Dana, anything else that we want to handle before we wrap up?
Not really, other than to reiterate our formal invite to come to a New Jersey Super Saturday.
I will.
And, to truly thank you for doing this call for us. I know we really appreciate it. Like Maureen said, I don't think this call could have come at a better time of year. I think it's going to set our team up for success over the next 6 weeks. I think it lit a fire. I know it lit a fire under my butt. Some of the things you said really hit home with me, and I hope that it did with everyone else on the team. And I will be listening to this recording again later.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll just say this one little piece, and we got to wrap, I know, but the bottom line is on this business is it's your business, and no one's going to build this business for you. And so the degree of success that you achieve is going to be determined by what you bring to the party. And, you know, this is an incredible business because you get to work with some cool, great people. And honestly, I love what I do and what we're doing and how we're changing lives. And we're unapologetic in how we help people, you know, making people do hard things. Okay, we teach people through our business to do hard things through fitness, and it's the people that develop the ability to do hard things and growing themselves and growing this business. There's great rewards there. So I'll just say thank you to you guys as well for betting on us, for betting on yourselves, and you know, hopefully there's a little bit of a fire lit under your butt on this thing, but it will be you. It'll be what you do with what you've got that will determine, you know, your success. And I'm betting on you guys. I'm betting on you guys. So Dana, thank you so much.
That's great.
Thank you. Thank you again. Really.
All righty.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm
Thank
going to
you.
say goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.